So 2.3 goes over information from graphs. So you're going to be looking at these graphs and just pulling out information from them. You're going to be looking for your domain, your range, increases, decreases, constants. When you give your domain and range, you got to make sure that they're in interval notation. So we're going to go through all of that while we're doing these questions today. That graph that's on the page before this, when we have f or t of, what was the first? 3 and 5. Okay, so 1, you have the ordered pair of what? This is 1 comma 25. So that would be 25. For t of 3, you find the ordered pair when x is 3 and your y is 30. So that's 330, which means t of 3, 5. You find for the where x is 5. That's the ordered pair 5 comma 20. So your coordinate plane t of 2 is here. So that's almost 35. Almost. So let's say it's like 34. So this is like saying 2 comma 34. T of 4 is here, and that is 4 comma 25. So if you look at these, it's asking which is larger. Back 25 is here. So where are we looking? 1 and 4. So 25 and up would give you this point here, this one, and this one. So what are the y values from those ordered pairs? Or what is those x values? Your y is 25 or higher. What are the x values from those ordered pairs? So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. At this table or this graph, from 1 p.m. to, you're looking at from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. with these. So 1 p.m. gives you the ordered pair of 125. 3 p.m. gives you the ordered pair of 330. So we're going to use these two ordered pairs in order to find the slope to give our net change. Remember, slope is the first example that we're going to look at, though, is finding the values of a function from a graph. So if you look at the graph that's on the first page, the one before this, for an A, it tells you to find t of 1, t of 3, and t of 5. So remember, t of anything or f of anything is your y value. So it tells you to find y when x is 1. Find y when x is 3. Find y when x is 5. So if we look at 1, t of 1, I'm just going to go back and forth between this, is 30. And then lastly, for this one, for t of value would be 20, which means t of 5 is 20. So t of 1 is 25, t of 3 is 30, and t of 5 is 20. For example B, it asks you which is larger, t of 2 or t of 4. Well, if we look back at that, we said t of 2 is 34, t of 4 is 25. Which one of these is larger, the t of 2 or t of 4? T of 2. For example C, it tells you find the value or values of x for which t of x is 25. So when you look here, t of x would be y. So when y is 25, what is x? If we look, let's do 1 and 4. Okay. For your next one, example D, it tells you to find the value or values of x for which t of x is greater than or equal to 25. So anything from 25 and up, what are the y values? So you'll see, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can give these as a set also, like we just did for this one. For example, E, it tells you to find the net change in temperature from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Net change with these is the same thing as slope. Find your slope between the point for 1 p.m. and the point for 3 p.m. If you look back, let's say 3 p.m. 2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if we're using 125 and 330, we're going to use the formula for slope, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this is going to give us, if we use the 330 as x2, y2, 30 minus 25 all over 3 minus 1. The 30 minus 25 is, and then the 3 minus 1, 2. So it's just 5 over 2. If we look at the next part, we're going to be going over domain and range. Your domain is the x values that are covered from the line that's drawn on the coordinate plane. Your range are the y values that are covered from the line that's drawn on the coordinate plane. When you're looking at your domain, make sure you look at the entire coordinate plane. Remember, if there is an arrow on a line that's drawn on that coordinate plane, that means that it continues to go on for forever. Even though it looks like it may be going down, like if there was an arrow at the end of this line here, even though it looks like it's just going down, it's still going to the right in this case, if there was an arrow on this line that you see on this graph. For something like your range, it's the height of that line. So the lowest part to the highest part with it. Again, these are written in interval notation. Your increasing and decreasing values. These will always have parentheses on them. Your increasing parts are, you're looking at, with all of these lines, you're looking at them from left to right, just like you read a book. So from left to right, the part that increases is going to be your increasing values. You're looking at the x values for these, only the x values. So the part that goes up from left to right, you give those x values. They are going to be put in parentheses, kind of like interval notation. For your decrease, again, looking from left to right, the part that goes down, give the x values for where that part of that line is going down. Same thing, increase, decrease. If we look at your second example here, it tells you to find the domain and range of f, then find the intervals of which f is increasing and on which f is decreasing. You'll see with your different categories that you're giving this information for, that on that bottom one says constant. Your constant is the part of the line that goes flat, which means any part that's horizontal is that constant. So you just give the part where that line is flat. So if we look at our domain from this graph, for your domain, what is the x values, what are the x values that are being covered? The lowest x value that's being covered is -8. So they're going to be -8. Oh, sorry, not negative infinity. -8. There is a closed circle on that point. So you'll put you'll put a bracket on that -8. From there, you're going to what x value that is the highest that's being covered. That's this one here. I'm sorry? That's +8. And then it's open circle, so parentheses. For your range, it's your height on that graph. So your lowest y value to your highest y value that's covered. Again, you look at the points with these as well. So your lowest y value is -6. Your highest is +5. And then your brackets go on both of these, so since both of those circles are closed. For your increase and your decrease, if you would like to cross out your y-axis with these, you can. It might make things a little bit easier for you. Because your increase and your decrease and your constant, you're only looking at the x values that are being covered. Increases from left to right. Where is this line moving upward? If you look here, I'm going to do this in red. From left to right, we're going up this way. We're also going up here. So what are the x values that are being covered for the parts where this line moves upward from left to right? You have from -8 to this point here, which is -1, 2, 3, 4. And then parentheses go on both of those. And then you're also going to include from -1 to this point here, which is +1, 2, 3, 4.
Wait, you don't put the U for like in between the parentheses?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
The increase and the decrease aren't interval notation. You're just giving the sets of intervals for which you're increasing and you're decreasing.
Okay, so you can just put like and or like.
You can put, if there's more than 2, you can put a comma between them. That's fine. Okay. Your decrease is where this line is going down from left to right. So from left to right, the line goes down in which way? You have it going down here. You also have it going down here. So from -4 to -1, as well as from from +4 to +8. You'll see with your increase and your decrease, they're most likely going to cover the majority of your domain and range. In a function like this where it's completely connected, your domain and range are completely covered your domain is completely covered with your increase and your decrease, not your range. Because remember, your increase and your decrease, you're not looking at your y values, so it doesn't go with your range, just your domain. For this line that was originally drawn on here before I drew all of these arrowed lines everywhere, is there any part of it that goes flat as horizontal line? No, there isn't. So the constant is none. For the last page within your notes, you're doing the same thing that you just did. With some of these, you are finding f of something as well. So for the first one here, looking at this function that's drawn on the coordinate plane, what is your domain? What are the x values that are being covered? What's your lowest one? -8. What's your highest one? Infinity. Good. Because it continues to go down, it will continue to go to the right as well, which means it'll go to infinity. That -8 is going to have what on it? Parentheses or brackets? Parentheses, because the circle is open. What is your range? What are the y values that are being covered here?
-infinity?
So until up to what? So this arrow that's going down is what's making this range go to -infinity. And then that graph goes up to +5. Now that +5 also gets a parentheses on it because that circle is open. Next, you're going to find your increase and your decrease. Remember, increase is where this line is going up, the x values at which this line goes up in those areas. Your decrease is where that line goes down for those x values. Look at this from left to right. Where are your increases? You're going up from -2 to +1. Remember, look at where that y-axis is. It's just to the other side of it, so it's +1. From there, is there anywhere else that this is increasing? There's not. So it's just from -2 to 1. Where is this line decreasing from left to right? We're going from -8 to -2. Where else is it decreasing?
From 4 to -10.
To what's the x values that are being covered?
Oh,
You got the 4 fine.
the 6.
To where this arrow
This down.
goes down to infinity, but as it goes down to infinity, where is it going? Where is it moving also? Not just down, but to the right. So yes, it's going down to negative infinity, but what are the x values that are being covered? Don't think about your y values. Think about the x values that are being covered as this line goes down. It continues to go to the right, so if it continues to go to the right, it's going to positive infinity. So it's going from 4 to positive infinity. Next with this, you're looking for the constant. Remember, the constant is where that line goes flat. Your line is flat or horizontal in this area here, where that pink line is. So it goes from 1 to 4. The last part of this question that we're finding is f of -6 and f of 5. So when x is -6, what is your y value? If we go to -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The ordered pair that we're looking at is here. So the y value for that ordered pair is what? 2. So f of -6 is just 2. If we find f of 5, that's this point here. So that's 5 comma what? 2. So f of 5 is 2. If we look at the last question from your notes, you're given this graph. You're asked for the domain range, increase, decrease, constant, and to find f of -9, f of 0, and f of 4. To find your domain, what are the x values that are being covered on this graph? What's your lowest x value that's here? -10. Where does that go up to? Look at your lines. All of these lines do not connect at the same x value. So you're going to have 3 parts here for your domain. So it goes from -10 to where? -5. What does the -10 have on it? What kind of circle is there? Okay, good. Now it stops there and then picks up at another x value. Where does it pick up at another x value? So you're going to have a union with -3 to what? Where does that line go to covering your x values? +5. What does the -3 have on it? Bracket. What does the 5 have on it? Good. Now this line stops, and then a new line picks up at another x value at where? 7. That 7 is going to have what on it? A bracket, because it's a closed circle. Where does that line that has an x value of 7 go to? Infinity. So this is from -10 to 5, including -5, with a union from -3 to 5, including the -3, with a union from 7 to infinity. Next, you're finding your range. So looking at the lines that are on the coordinate plane, you want to look for the lowest y value to the highest y value that's covered. Your lowest y value is here, which is -4. That is included on that line. So that one will get a bracket. From there, what's the highest y value that's covered? Now, when you look at these, you're looking going up. So starting at that -4 and going up, you have that middle line that on the left of it stops at +1 with your x value on one side, but the right side continues to go up. That line continues to go up, and then the line that's on the left actually connects that with that line and continues to go up as well. So the one to the far right is included in the one on the far left. So you really don't have to look at the one on the far right when you're doing your range. So look from the 2 that's on the one on the far left and the one in the middle. with the one that's in the middle, it stops at a certain y value and then picks up from the one on the left. What is the highest y value for the line on the left?
8.
Does the 8 get a parentheses or a bracket?
Right.
Parentheses, because it's an open circle. Is it 8? Let's check. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, it is. Okay, so this is perfect. From -4 to +8.
But they're not connected. So what
It doesn't matter that they're not connected because you're not looking at the y values or the x values. I'm sorry. You're just looking at the y values that are being covered. So if you, let's say like you were just going to highlight the y values that are being covered from here, you're starting here, going up to here, but this line continues to go up, and then this one continues to go up. So all of that, so from, let me change, from this value to this value are the y values that you're covering.
So only for the x does it matter if they're not connected?
Correct. Well, it's all of it. If you had a part, like let's say you had a line down here that went from here to here. That doesn't connect from one y value to the next. So you'd have a union between the first part with the second part. All right, so if I erase this, just so that way we don't get confused with the rest of it. Let me do this. Okay. So, looking back at this, now that everything's erased, you are looking for your increase and your decrease and your constant. Remember, your increase is your x values for which the line goes up from left to right. So what part of these lines go up from left to right? The only part is from here to here. So you're starting at the x value of 0, and you're going to the x value of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then your parentheses will go through there. For your decrease, you're looking at the parts of the lines that go down from left to right. So if you look from left to right here, this line goes down from left to right here, and then this one goes down from left to right here. So the x values that are covered are from -10 to 1, 2, 3, 4, -5, as well as from -3 to 0. Next, you're finding the constant part. So which of these lines go flat horizontally? The one on the top. So it goes flat here, and it goes to infinity. So we know we're going to positive infinity, so that one will go down first. What's the lowest x value on that specific line? 7. So it's going to just go from 7 to infinity for that constant. Lastly, you're finding f of -9, f of 0, and f of 4. So the first one, f of -9. What is your y value when x is -9? When x is -9, it is this ordered pair here. So what is y? 7. For f of 0, we have what y value when 0 is x? -4. And lastly, when x is 4, what is y? 2.